Hi, I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam's Star and the Solar Legion. I'm also the author of WITCHMAN, a new superhero comic book. There's currently a Kickstarter campaign for WITCHMAN, which is entering its final days. If you'd like to be a part of this exciting new project, follow the link in the show notes below. We're up to Thor number 129, The Verdict of Zeus. We're reading it in this Thor Treasury edition. We're pretty deep into this ongoing Hercules storyline, and it's been extremely engaging. Each chapter has new twists and turns to offer, and this one's no exception. No matter how sophisticated New Yorkers may be, when the noble figure of the God of Thunder hurtles down from the skies above, you can be somewhat certain he'll receive more than a passing glance. Hearken ye, Stan Lee, writer, Jack Kirby, penciler, Vince Colletta, inker, Artie Simek, letterer. Yea, verily. And of course, Jack Kirby is the co-writer of this story. So he's surrounded by a crowd. They're asking him lots of questions, very different than the last time he was surrounded by a crowd in New York. There's been a lot of talk about you running into Hercules on the coast, Thor. They say you beat him to a fare thee well this time. Is it true? None can best the Prince of Power thus easily, yet you may say I acquitted myself with honor. Even though Thor didn't end up in a Donnybrook with Hercules in the previous issue, he did... word has gotten out that Thor is no longer has the stink of a loser, and so he can show his face on the streets of New York. Word has gotten out, even if the word on the street doesn't have quite all the details correct. Thor, proved himself more than a hero, and he's getting crowded by these people who want a piece of him. One lock of his hair, that's all I want, just one. You can use some help, fella. Come on, hop into my hack. And so he has this ongoing conversation with this cab driver, very similar to one of Jack Kirby's first, God on Earth stories from, the very beginning of his career in Hurricane, in Captain America #1. So this is a beat, this is a moment that Kirby's been playing with, for his entire career. Having a god get into your taxi cab and the kind of conversation you can get into. He shows up at Jane Foster's building. And this Treasury edition, it really tells the whole story beautifully. It's kind of like an early graphic novel. You can read this, entire Thor story, but they do cut a page or two here and there to make it all fit. And so they cut out 2 pages that Thor spends at Jane Foster's apartment building. He meets her strange new roommate, Tana Nile, and then asks for a little bit of privacy for him and Jane. And he tells Jane, another one of those story beats that was used in Superman 2. He realizes that in order to marry Jane Foster, he has to renounce his godhood and just be Don Blake forever, be Clark Kent forever. And so he tells Jane he's going to do that. She's not so sure, having him sacrifice that much, on her behalf. But it's not for him, it's for the both of them. And now this, the glorious spectacle of Olympus, another version of Asgard, another pantheon of gods, and you see Dionysus there and Zeus in all his glory. There's much dance and revelry, which you don't see in Asgard. And of course, these pantheons are, we're seeing them through a Jack Kirby and a Stan Lee filter, but these pantheons are also reflective of their civilizations. This vision of, a pantheon and a home of the gods, New Genesis of the new gods sort of lies somewhere between Asgard and Olympus. It's got a lot of sort of the grandeur of Asgard and the sort of seriousness and the somberness, as it's bracing itself for war. But then it's also got a lot of the music and the joy and youthful merriment of Olympus here. Pluto makes an appearance with this amazing headdress. This is a really great look for Pluto with this sort of, death mask and stuff. Just really, really amazing stuff. It's a look that's largely abandoned. You don't see him looking like this again, at least under Kirby's pencil. And I don't know if, other artists have brought this look back, but I really like it. And he tells Zeus that the reason he's out and about is that he's found someone else to take his place. And now he's going to join the pantheon of the Olympian gods and no longer be trapped in the underworld because he's found a hapless victim to sign this contract and take over the ruling of Hades. He drops the bad news on Zeus. "What is the name of thy hapless victim? 'Tis a name thou knowest full well, sire. He who hath carelessly signed the Olympian contract is none other than thine own son, Hercules." So that's some bad news. And we cut back to Hercules. Now he's climbing up Olympus, and it's very cool in story terms. It follows a pretty natural logic, beautiful in its simplicity, but it's just a wonderful flourish. The last time we saw Olympus, he was walking down Mount Olympus, and obviously it's much easier to climb down a mountain than climb up a mountain, and so that kind of reflects the dire predicament he's in. Now he's slowly making his way up this impossible mountain. And along the way, he faces a yellow-crested titan. We get a nice little fight to break things up. Now, to seek audience with honored Zeus. He's looking for help, anything to get him out of this predicament. We get this beautiful vista of Asgard, which is reprinted from the Thor annual. So we've talked about it in a previous episode. Check out that episode. A short time later, his destination reached, Hercules enters the gleaming castle. "'Tis most passing strange, though I am seen by all, none there are who approach me." And I feel like I've seen this statue in among, Kirby's stuff, as like a sort of bookend or something. I don't know. He gets sort of, the giant eyes of Zeus, Zeus in his full majesty. "My son, I know thou hast been grossly deceived, yet thou didst sign the compact, and more precious to thy father than life itself is honor. Thou must be true to thy deed. Though thou be favored above all in mine eyes, I do banish thee to the netherworld. Hear me, my father, a chance is all I crave, the chance to fight for my freedom. I beg no favor, I ask no pity, but I am Hercules, I know not how to yield. Alas, my son, thy pride hath been thy downfall. Now must thou learn the lesson of humility. My only chance, I must find a champion who will do battle in my behalf. But where in the universe is there one so selfless? Find ye one who will fight in thy stead, one who will risk the netherworld himself to save thee." So, written in flame, which we'll see in New Gods. Thor said what he had to say to Jane Foster. Now to return to the Golden Realm, perhaps for the final time. He's going to drop some news on his father, and he shows up. Balder is there to meet him, and Balder says that Odin wants to talk to you. And so look at this beautiful panel here. Something as simple as walking from one place to another, and Kirby makes a unforgettable moment out of it. And so there's Odin, scholarly Odin, and he tells Thor some about this being a special day when there's a doorway to all the worlds, and that Thor must enter into limbo and follow his fate wherever it takes him. And so he steps into limbo. We cut back to Olympus. "Ares, I crave a boon. Because I signed an Olympian contract, my arm may no more be lifted in battle. I must find one willing to risk all in order to fight, to dare for the cause of Hercules. Then thou must seek him elsewhere, son of Zeus. Long have I despised thy blustering manner, thy vain conceit, thy overpowering strength, which by rights should have been mine. Now stand thou aside. I must ever practice hurling my fateful javelins. Then thou doth refuse me? Aye, look not to Ares for succor. God of war thou art called. Where then is thy warlike spirit? Where then thy lust for combat? Unhand me, doomed one. Even Ares is not witless enough to do battle with mighty Pluto and his deadly legions. Never shall I forget how thou hast turned thy back upon thy fellow Olympian, base, black-hearted coward. Remember then, Hercules, as thou spendest eternity in the netherworld." Ares, the Loki of Hercules' Olympus, still got to find a champion to fight on his behalf. He goes and asks help from Hermes, but Hermes has no time for that. He's on a mission. I'm just from the looks of things, I'm guessing this is supposed to be Apollo, and either Jack or Stan or both of them kind of, got things a little mixed up. I don't know, but this looks like Apollo in his, chariot of the sun that he rides across the sky, making the sun move from east to west. If he doesn't go on this ride, then the sun doesn't rise, so he can't help Hercules either. That's what I'm guessing is sort of what's supposed to be going on here, but maybe not. Maybe they know something I don't know. Maybe Hermes does have a chariot and a team of horses and is known for that. But I'm not really familiar with that. I know about his flying sandals and how he can attain great speeds with that, and I know about Apollo and his chariot. So time is running out, and now Pluto's here to claim Hercules. Look at these guys. Love it. The hosts of hell ready to pull him down. And yeah, Hercules can't fight. Somewhere in the vast, limitless universe, there must be one who will heed my call. And here's Thor back in limbo, and he does hear the call. It cannot be, it must not be, that the Prince of Power, that Hercules, who hath never been defeated in battle, shall be taken without an arm upraised, without a blow being struck. Hercules, then it must be he for whom I am fated to do battle. Surely there is none more worthy, none more deserving than the son of Zeus. If the power of the thunder god can aid the Olympian, then so be it. And Thor goes on a journey and then ends up here with Hercules. It kind of reminds me of, like in Dungeons and Dragons or, some kind of role-playing game when the dungeon master kind of has a whole storyline in mind that they worked really hard on, but the adventurers are sort of sailing in the wrong direction. And then the dungeon master finds some way of, no matter how far they move from the place the dungeon master wants them to get to, they find a way to kind of get them back there. This is where a boom tube would come in handy. And now here he is. Olympus, the realm of regal Zeus. It is here then that my destiny awaits me. Ahead of me, the hubbub of voices, and one more powerful, more desperate than any other, the voice of Hercules. Hercules, he who had been my foe, he for whom I am now prepared to risk all in the field of battle against unknown odds. And here they are, pulling Hercules down to Hades, to the netherworld. The time of valor is past. Let me then be taken. Of what use is it to remain in a world where none will stand up for another who hath been unjustly used? The time of valor is past. The age of the warrior is dead. Let Hercules then perish with them. Ha! It is thine own accursed power which has proven to be thine undoing. Only enemies hast thou made in battle, never friends. I say thee nay, emperor of evil. One there is who shall fight for the Prince of Power. Let thy warriors gather. Let thy own awesome forces be assembled. Against them all I shall prevail. Impossible! None there are who would dare. None save a warrior born. The god of thunder dares. Killer final panel. This whole storyline is a redemptive arc for Hercules because Hercules does have a lesson to learn. He does have some flaws. His flaws are his braggadociousness, his pride, and it's alienated him. It's made him a lot of enemies, but Thor is going to be there for him and help him, through this and help him learn a lesson. I have this copy of the Tales of Asgard special from the 80s. During the time Walt Simonson was doing his run on Thor, his famous second run on Thor, where he was writer-artist. And, we got this great Simonson cover. But inside is a retelling of a great Tales of Asgard multi-parter. And so this would be the one that would be in issue 129 of Thor. Tales of Asgard, home of the mighty Norse gods, the hordes of Harokin, fabulously written by Stan Lee, fantastically drawn by Jack Kirby, fastidiously inked by Vince Colletta, finally lettered by Artie Simic, and of course Jack Kirby is co-writer on this, not just the drawer of pictures. Not that wouldn't be pretty spectacular if that were his only contribution. Picking up from the previous Tales of Asgard, Jack's drawing these comics, together, even though they're separate storylines. So he's got Hercules being dragged into hell, and he's got Loki being dragged into his own hell. Picking up from the previous Tales of Asgard, Vala the prophetess said that Loki will be to blame. He'll be the culprit for Ragnarok. And so they're dragging him off and throwing him into this suspended animation chamber where he'll presumably stay forever. But I mean, we've seen that didn't quite work out. But that's Odin's solution to prevent Ragnarok from happening. Let's lock up Loki. And it's the sort of situation there'd be in like a Philip K. Dick story. Loki's done some pretty rotten things in his life, but it's pretty unfair to put someone in prison for a crime they did not yet commit, a crime, and where you're depending on sort of soothsaying, future prediction, and saying, yeah, of course you didn't commit this crime yet because it's in the future, but you're going to do it. Vala the prophet has said so, and Loki's like, hey, I don't know anything about any of this, and his despair seems sincere. It doesn't seem like he's like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to start Ragnarok. He seems surprised. It's a nice moment. And you can see how Loki does become a sympathetic character as the years go on. Largely due to the movies, but it's there in the Kirby stuff too. Even though Kirby and Stan do play him as much more of sort of an arch villain, this is still a very sympathetic moment. And yeah, he goes into suspended animation, and Thor tries to intercede on Loki's behalf. But, Odin, pretty broken up by the whole thing, but he's got to do what he's got to do. And he gets himself together and tells Thor that he's got a mission for him. He's going to send Thor and the Warriors 3, who are fast becoming, very popular, co-stars of the Tales of Asgard section of the book. And he tells them, as another thing to help prevent Ragnarok, I want you to go find the Warlock's Eye. I'm going to send you to Muspelheim. And we cut to Muspelheim. Got this super cool looking dude hitting a gong with this mini Galactus helmet. There's somebody on the attack, somebody who's already gotten the Eye of the Warlock. So there's the Warlock's Eye, this treasure. Again, another Jack Kirby comic that would make a super cool video game, searching for all these sort of treasures. And he's leading this horde to attack, and he says, today it is Muspelheim, tomorrow Asgard itself. So this guy needs to be stopped. This is Haroken. And now he's at the gates, and he unleashes the power of the Warlock's Eye, which knocks these guys out. And now Thor and the Warriors 3 are on their way for their confrontation with Haroken and his Warlock's Eye. So, I mean, we're in the heart of it. These are some pretty great comics, and I hope you're enjoying them as much as I am. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam Starr and the Solar Legion. I'm also the author of WITCHMAN, a new superhero comic book, which is in the middle of a Kickstarter campaign. If you'd like to be a part of this exciting new project, you can find out more by following the link in the show notes below. I'll see you next Thursday.